Hello, and welcome to Mama T Energy. On this podcast, we explore the journey of living extraordinary lives through taking radical self responsibility for mastering our mindset, actions, and frequency, holding ourselves accountable for staying in alignment with our desires. We are creating a community, living fulfilled lives, a conscious collective, witnessing daily miracles, and sharing our joy. This work creates a ripple effect that gives humanity permission to love our lives and each other. We are consciously raising the vibration of ourselves and the world, making Earth the home we all love to live in. So today we have a very special guest. We have Kelsey Carter joining us. She is the founder of Magic by Human Design, and she helps spiritual entrepreneurs create magnetic brands from their human design. Hello, Kelsey. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you. So, for those who might not know what human design is, can you give a little overview of what is human design?
Yes. So, the most common definition that you'll hear for human design is basically a blueprint to your energy. And so, I like to explain it as it's a map into our archetypes, like our
Mhm.
archetypal programming, because that makes it feel a little bit more real. But basically, it's how does your energy operate and what are these natural gifts that you have? And also, what are some natural vulnerabilities that you might have?
Mm, I love that. What got you into human design?
It was very like divinely driven. I had heard about it a couple times and I was in denial about it.
Mm.
I'm a projector. For anyone that knows human design, that's like the one that's known as needing lots of naps and stuff like that. And so I was in denial about that. I was very in like my boss girl era and I was like doing, and like taking action and all this stuff. And so I kind of pushed it aside the first few times I heard about it. And then it kept popping up. And I do like to think of human design like this, like it finds you. Like you don't find human design, it finds you. And so it was kind of that. Like I feel like now looking back, like human design kind of pursued me, which I'm very flattered about. But then I was doing brand design and really finding that there are so many connections between brand strategy and the brand design process and the human design chart. And so
Mm.
it just started as like this insatiable curiosity and like continuing to see these connections and these patterns to where it got to a point where I couldn't deny it for myself, but also for the work that I was doing. And so I merged the two. But yeah, it was a very like a kismet thing.
I love it. I love the magic that's coming in. And I love that that's like your brand, like the magic of human design and
Yeah.
that it just like magically shows up for you
Mhm.
um, in creating magic. So, would you say you could use human design to help learn how each individual manifests?
Absolutely. Human design is really good because the way that people first start to use it is to learn how to listen to themselves. And so the human design term for this is authority, but sometimes that can feel a little bit intense. A lot of the human design verbiage is like kind of feels science fictiony.
Mhm.
And so, and by the way, I have a very irreverent approach to human design, but I feel like that makes it more real and more fun. But
I love
yes,
it.
in terms of manifesting, we have to know like what our intuition is longing for. Like what does our heart truly want, right?
Mhm.
And human design, the first step to really using this system and embodying it is learning how your intuition personally speaks to you. And so, yes, absolutely. On the simplest answer to that is yes, because you learn what is my soul saying to me and how am I designed to hear it rather than just like hearing all the noise and being driven off of what society tells us we should do.
Oh, I love it. And it's such a common theme about like, okay, kind of like ignoring society or ignoring seems like a little rough of a word, but really turning it down so that we can amplify our own individual voices and our own individual mindset and what we actually believe. It's really interesting how we kind of get indoctrinated into a certain way of life by, parents, family members, whatever, leaders that are around us as we grow up. And then we kind of come to this space as an adult to be like, okay, well, actually, is this mine or is this not mine? And how do I actually operate? And it's been really interesting as I've been going around communities and talking to different people, how we kind of don't figure out who we are until way later in life because we have one interpretation unless we were raised to actually explore, which I find is less common than I feel it should be. We end up exploring in adulthood different times of our lives. So can you speak a little bit on that?
Yes, I love what you said. Is this mine or is this not mine? That is like probably one of things I say the most with my clients and in my work because human design teaches you how to actually have a process for that. Because yeah, the human design term for that is conditioning.
Mhm.
We're basically conditioned to think in a certain way, to be a certain way, to want certain things, to look a certain way, all of that. But human design gives you a really tangible system to
Mhm.
be able to be like, wait, is this mine? Do I truly believe this? I've been identifying with it, but like, do I like this? And it's really empowering because then you get to say, like, yeah, actually, like, I'm cool with it. I'm going to keep living my life like this. Or you can say, no, I really don't like this perspective. I don't like this belief system. I don't like this way of living. I'm going to let it go and I'm going to actively recondition my beliefs and who I am and choose who I want to be.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So, is there any sort of practices that you would recommend for someone that's like, all right, well, I'm working on figuring out who I want to be. How do I, keep consistent with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm gonna answer this in a little bit of a roundabout way, if that's
Love
okay.
it.
In human design, there's this concept called passenger consciousness, and it's a really cool image, and it helps to give you motivation to continue on with living your human design. So basically, passenger consciousness is this idea that like you can think of your life as a car, right? Like it's this car driving down the road of life. And we're trained and we're taught and we're conditioned in school, everything you were saying by your family, your friends, your culture, all of that, to we really are taught to make decisions with our mind, right? To be logical, to be rational, to look
Hmm.
at what's possible, what's realistic, right? All of that stuff. And so we're taught to make decisions with our brain. Human design says, no, no, no. The brain is where all of the limitations exist. The brain is where all
Mm.
of the conditioning exists. The brain is where all of those bondages exist. So human design is here to help you pick your brain up out of the driver's seat. I'm sorry, out of the driver's seat, put it into the passenger seat so that your wisdom, your soul, your heart, your true essence can be the one driving the car. So your brain is still there, right? It's still there for the ride, but it's not the one making the decisions. It's not the one deciding which way to go, how fast to go, when to pull over, all of that stuff. So, to actually answer your question, the first step, like in actually living this and having a process for it and being able to keep up with it consistently, is to learn how your individual wisdom speaks to you. And the human design word for that is authority. So you're a generator, correct?
Yes,
Yeah. So are you emotional authority or are you sacral authority?
I'm an emotional authority.
Okay, so you're designed to listen to your wisdom and to live by your wisdom by allowing yourself time to make your decisions, right? To feel all the feelings that come up with the possibility of something new or with a decision, and then to make that decision from a place when you feel calmness in your body.
Mhm.
But that's only the process for emotional authority. If someone was sacral authority, it would be completely different. So that is the really it, the meat of all of it, the juice of all of it with living your human design is learning what is your authority and how does it feel in your body because that's your wisdom communicating with you.
Yes. And then for those who might not have ever created a chart, can you speak a little bit about like, okay, well, what do I need in order to know what my authority is and energy types and all that stuff?
Yes, great question. There are a lot of free human design charts that you can get, and I have a free one on my website as well. But it's just like astrology, where you put in your birth time, your birth date, and your place of birth. And the place of birth, people are like, why do I need to know like where? But it's based on time zone. So those are the three things that you need, and then it will tell you what your chart is. It will tell you what your human design type is, what your authority is, as well as all this other stuff, but it's an objective chart. So it's not a personality test where you would go through and like, like with your Hogwarts house where you
Right.
like answer questions. It's not that. It's an objective chart. And that's like a part of my story where I saw the objective chart and I was like, no, I reject that. So it
Mhm.
can be a little bit at first intimidating. But I've also heard people that are just like, yes, that's me, and they take to it right away. But yes, that's how you find out all of those details: your human design type, authority, et cetera, et cetera.
Perfect. And I believe that Kelsey gave us a link to one that you can download. So that will be in the show notes for anyone looking to create their chart.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, it's that. And for anyone that's brand new to it, start with looking at your human design type and your authority. Those two aspects of your design are really all you need to know to start. The best way to say it is living in alignment with
Mhm.
start meeting yourself and then living your life in a way where you're leading by who you truly are and who your soul came here to be.
Yes. So for those who might not know what types are, what are our types?
Yeah, so there's 5 human design types, and this just tells us basically how your energy operates and also how it's designed to operate best with the outside world. So there's the manifesting generator, there's the generator, there is the projector, there's the manifester, and there's the reflector. And so your type tells you a lot about just your day-to-day energy. It's really validating in terms of your societal purpose, especially if you have a business or you have a big goal in your life or something like that. The reason that that's there is for you personally, yes, but also on a collective level. So the human design type helps you to see, oh, I'm supposed to be like the human phone charger of society, or I'm supposed to be the guide of society, right? But then it also tells you what your strategy is. And so this is where it can feel a little bit overwhelming at first, but basically your strategy is how your energy is designed to operate with other people.
Mhm.
So for example, with the projector, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. With the generator, your strategy is to wait to respond. And so that's just helpful to know, oh, okay, like I can see all these times in my life where I waited for the invitation or I waited to respond and it worked out really well. Or I can see times in my life where I did not wait for an invitation and I just barreled my way through and it didn't work out so well. So I like to reflect on it like that, and then it just gives you more guidance, more assurance, something you can put your faith into as you take risks and do scary things and decide to go all in on who you want to be.
I love it. And I love that there's like so much nuance to it because I talk about it a lot that we're all individuals and we all have different gifts and we have different desires. And that's what I think makes the world beautiful is the fact that we're not all the same, like cookie cutter human being. Like we all are completely different and all completely magical and have great capacity for creating extraordinary things. And the best way to create extraordinary things is to be in alignment with what your extraordinary is.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of my favorite reasons for working so deeply with human design is it's a somewhat new system, and when we look at a chart, we don't really have any preconceived notions of how it's supposed to be, right? Like every chart is beautiful. Whereas with other aspects of humans and identity and stuff like that, like there's ways you're supposed to be. And so we can be biased, but like the charts, like it feels to me like it's just this pure energy to work with. And
Mhm.
so they all feel really magical to me. Every single chart that I've ever read, and at this point, I've lost count of how many human design charts I've read, but every single one I get so excited about because they're all so different and they're all so cool and like superheroes in their own right.
I love it. Can you talk about like how do we can gear our chart towards maybe a business or occupation, like what we like to do on our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, that's such a great question. One of my favorite ways, and everyone probably has a different response to that question, but one of my favorite ways is to look at it and see what our innate gifts are. Like, what are our innate gifts? What are our innate traits? What are our innate characteristics? And A, can we notice those in ourselves? And B, how can we develop those more? Because it's going to tell you like where you're naturally inclined to do well in something, or like what's a natural, like for example, the chart can tell you if you're a detail oriented person.
Mhm.
And so that can be something where you're like, oh, I didn't even know that that was a gift, but that's cool. Maybe I can build my brand on that. And so little things like that, I like to call them breadcrumbs of like, what's something that I can leverage? What's something that I can invest time and energy and even money possibly into
Mhm.
developing and let go of like some of the pressure to be a different way. So that's my favorite way. A lot of other human design practitioners use the human design chart to help their clients get into like schedule flows. For
Mhm.
example, Manny gens and generators tend to typically have more energy in their day than a projector, a manifestor, or a reflector. And that's not always the case. I don't want to put any blanket statements on it, but a lot of people find acceptance and find permission to like take a nap in the middle of the day, for example, or to make their work week or their work day rather 4 hours instead of 8 hours. Or
Mhm.
some people are like, I love to work. Like I'm going to keep churning it out because I have sustained energy for that.
Yes, as a generator, I totally can see. I'm like, oh yeah, 10-hour days doesn't really bother
Yeah.
me. If I'm really into something, I can like go, 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 go and be like, oh wait, it's nighttime. What happened?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's the cool thing about human design that I've noticed is this it just tends to be really validating.
Mhm.
And so I think the biggest message that my clients walk away with after getting a human design reading or a report or whatnot is like, I can trust myself. I'm doing it right. Like I can trust myself. And we need to have often like an external validation, something,
Mhm.
right? Like you can manifest and you can believe and you can visualize all day long. And that stuff is amazing. And you have to do that. But to have that like outside support and validation, especially on a piece of paper, it's really, really helpful. And it's just validating. Like that's the best word for it.
I love it. And I want to kind of take the conversation towards based on different energy types, because I remember when I first heard it, I was like a little disappointed when I heard that I was like not knowing what things were. I was like, but I want to be a manifester. Like I had gotten into human design or learned about it by going through the flow of like, how do I master manifestation? And then how dare I not be a manifester? So can you speak a little bit to the fact that there's just beauty in all of the types?
Yes, absolutely. And I think all of us go through that manifestor envy. I was in deep denial about it too, to the point where I ordered my birth certificate because I'm like, I have to be a manifestor. So same exact situation happened for me. The thing with that is all human design types can manifest. And the way that we manifest is it's nuanced, right? And so
Mhm.
a manifestor, they're really here. That name comes from them being able to so the manifestor human design type is said to have this direct connection with the cosmos where God just like downloads things into their consciousness and then they're like pregnant with this idea and they go into this creative urge until it's out into the world. So
Mhm.
that's what is meant by their title of manifestor is like they're here to bring new ideas into the world and to initiate new things. So again, it's not to say like other types can't have ideas or divine downloads or anything like that, but in terms of having a vision and having a desire and then bringing that into your own reality, that's possible for every single type for sure. But yes, like the wording, the verbiage of human design can be a little bit interesting sometimes. Um, but like with generators, for example, generators are here to really get clear on what lights you up. Like you should feel like a Christmas tree every day. Like you should feel like you are a plugged in human Christmas tree because that means that you really are manifesting on this frequency of you, right? Because generators can power through and create something for someone else's vision or something that
Mhm.
they're not really that excited about. Like you can do it, but your real magic comes through when you have declared, like, this is what I want and I'm going for it. And then the Manny gens are very similar in that, but they also are going to get like the zoomies and change what they want to bring to fruition and bring to life. And so they have that same powerful energy, but they tend to change directions and pivot and have
Mhm.
lots of things going on all at once. And they're designed to do that. And then projectors are here. Projectors can work, but they're here to guide energy. They see energy and they're here to guide it. And then reflectors are here to reflect back what's going on. They're basically like the mirrors, like the human mirrors to show us as a collective how we're doing and what the current truth is. And that way we can see if we need to pivot and change things or if we're doing a great job and we can continue to move on in the direction that we've been going.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about how you discovered your own personal gifts through human design?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. So I always tend to look at the chart through a brand strategist lens. And so for me, I really feel like I came into my own magic through the pursuit of business. I was really like confused and unempowered in my life up until the point where I identified as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And that's when I like really feel like I stepped into my purpose and woke up every single day feeling really confident and really excited. And so I like to look at my chart personally with like, how can I get more honed in on my brand message? Like, what is my brand here to say? And how can I show up and be a conduit for that? Um, but for other people that maybe not, that like have other avenues, right? Other places their heart's leading them, you really can see like, this is what I care about. This is what my chart says that I really value. And then of course it's a piece of paper. So, we really need to weigh in on that and decide like, yeah, I actually do really value that. But it also can tell you, what fuels you, like what pulls your feet out of bed in the morning. It can show you, maybe you have the opposite story of mine and someone has been trying to pursue like this high powered career and then they look at their chart and they find that they just have like stay at home mom energy and that's what they're meant to be doing and pursuing. And so it can help you not necessarily, I don't want to say put yourself into a box, but help you try on different possibilities and different realities and different futures so that you can be like, oh, that tastes really good, like that feels really good, yeah, that's me.
I love that. So did you find human design before you started your business or after?
It was I think it all kind of happened at the same time. It was around my Saturn return, around the age of 27, when everything started to shift for me. Clarity came, motivation came, different desires came, and my true identity, like I started to find it. So yeah, it's all that time of that season of life feels kind of jumbled, but I would say it probably happened around the same time.
I love it. It sounds like divine timing to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is pure magic. So, in terms of bringing your brand into human design or having human design inform your brand, can you speak a little bit on that and what that would look like if someone was interested in working with you?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for asking. So, with business and with branding, I do think it's helpful at the very beginning to kind of throw spaghetti at the wall, right? And like just take action and just start to show up. But then there comes a point where you're like, okay, I'm really serious about this. Like, I am here to make an impact. I'm here to help people transform their lives, right? I'm here to bring value to the world through business. So, with your human design chart, you can find your brand strategy in your chart, meaning like you can get really clear on what's your brand's purpose, like why? Why were you called to pursue this? What's your brand's mission? What is your brand values? What's your brand message? Like, what is your brand here to say? How can you position your brand in a way that's really creative and really helps you stand out, especially online? Um, Brand environment, meaning like what platforms on the internet are going to feel good for you and feel safe and feel like home. All of that is in the chart. I
Mhm.
have taken it as far as finding out a way to find our brand colors in our human design chart, which is really fun. Your brand archetype, and this is actually based on your rising sign, which is
Mm,
another rabbit hole. It's not in the chart, but it's part of the same system. You just have to find it in your astrology chart. But your brand archetype tells you who your brand is, but also who your dream clients are. So it is like people pay $30,000 for a good brand strategy. Your
mhm.
human design chart has all of that in there for free. And it's going to be way better, in my opinion, than even the
Yes.
most genius brand strategist who's not looking at human design.
I 100% agree with that because I've gone through many iterations of my own personal brand, just in that self-discovery mode. So it's just like, oh, I'm learning this about myself. I like this, so I'm going to go this way. I'm like this, I'm going to go this way. And
Yeah.
eventually, it comes to a place where, okay, maybe someone else should like help me out and give me some like guidance and something to actually respond to within my
Yeah.
authority.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I hear that all the time from my sacral clients, manifesting generators and generators is like, "Oh, you just gave me something to respond to." So yeah, the human design chart has so many just avenues and storylines and ideas to where then you can actually use your intuition and say like, "Do I agree with that? Do I want to do that? Do I want to pursue that?" And it might be a no, and that's totally fine, and it might be a yes, and that's really cool as well.
Wonderful. Do you have any like books or gurus that you would recommend someone tap into if they're like, all right, I want to dive deeper into human design?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do think YouTube is a really good resource for just basic human design stuff, especially if you are interested in learning about it without any kind of angle, because people
Mhm.
use it for parenting advice or business or branding, right? But just learning human design on this, like the pure system of it is really helpful just for learning about who you are. So YouTube is a great free resource. You can just type in like human design intro, human design type, human design generator or whatever, and it will pull up a lot of really amazing tutorials and teachings. And then in terms of books, there is, let me see if I have it. I don't think I do. I'm going to butcher his name, but there's a teacher. I really like how he explains it because it feels very, it's easy to understand. And I
Mhm.
believe his last name is Parkin, Parkyn. And he has books on Amazon about the human design types. He gets really nuanced into the gates and all of this stuff, but his language is the most like, oh, I can understand that. That doesn't sound like jargon or like science
Mhm.
fiction stuff.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us today?
Um, just one last little thing that nobody asked for, but it's coming through. Human design is meant to be empowering. It's
Mhm.
meant to be a tool that we can use to feel more like ourselves and feel more free. And so, if at any point with human design, it's feeling constricting or like you're trying to put yourself into a certain mold and it feels like you're wearing a turtleneck that's two sizes too small, like you can just put it down. You don't have to master the whole human design system to be able to use it to create benefit in your life, which is what I love about it. So like really feel into that, like your body, human design teaches you that your body is your vessel for communicating with your wisdom, and so listen to it. So all of that, that's just human nature, right? Is to like put rules on ourselves and try to do it right, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. Human design is really here to help you find out who you are and feel free ultimately.
Ah, I love that. I love the empowerment of that. That's
Yeah.
just magical. So thank you. Thank you so much for being with us, Kelsey. If anyone wants to connect, all of the details are in the description of this podcast. So thank you so much for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Mwah.